How to improve your fluency. Alex remembered the stark frustration vividly, his early English learning attempts often ending in silent despair. He would stare at textbooks, memorize verb conjugations, and try to grasp complex sentence structures. Yet actual communication remained an impenetrable barrier. The words just wouldn't come out when he needed them most, leading to overwhelming feelings of inadequacy and reluctance to speak publicly. Grammar rules felt like an endless, convoluted maze, each exception more confusing than the last. He spent countless hours poring over explanations, but applying them in real-time conversations was an entirely different challenge. This disconnect between theoretical knowledge and practical application was the most significant hurdle, stifling any genuine progress and making the language seem fundamentally inaccessible. His mind would often freeze completely mid-sentence, the perfect word or phrase suddenly vanishing into thin air. He'd open his mouth, only for silence to follow, punctuated by awkward pauses. This mental block wasn't due to lack of effort, but a missing link between his stored knowledge and the ability to spontaneously retrieve and produce it under pressure, fueling his self-doubt. Fluency, he eventually realized, wasn't about possessing an encyclopedic vocabulary or perfect grammatical precision. True fluency was about the effortless flow of ideas, the ability to express oneself clearly and be understood without significant hesitation. This epiphany shifted his entire perspective, liberating him from the rigid pursuit of perfection towards a more practical, communicative approach. It meant connecting thoughts seamlessly, not just stringing isolated words together in a grammatically correct sequence. The goal transformed from avoiding mistakes to effectively conveying messages. This understanding allowed Alex to view language as a tool for connection rather than a complex academic puzzle, reducing his anxiety and opening doors to new learning strategies for growth. The pivotal breakthrough in Alex's journey arrived with the discovery of why reading is so important. He had always read English texts, but not with purpose. Now, he began devouring books, articles, and even product labels, actively immersing himself in authentic language context, understanding that reading widely was truly foundational for linguistic development and retention. Each new word encountered within a narrative wasn't merely a definition to memorize. It was a character in a story, illuminated by its surrounding context. This contextual learning made vocabulary stick far more effectively than rote memorization. He absorbed sentence patterns naturally, his brain subconsciously internalizing grammar rules through repeated exposure in meaningful scenarios. Reading extensively also provided an intuitive sense of English rhythm and common phrasing, building a solid foundation. He noticed how different authors constructed sentences, which subtly improved his own writing and speaking patterns without explicit study. This passive learning component of reading was immensely powerful, acting as a constant input stream for his evolving language skills. To remember words effectively, Alex started actively engaging with them beyond just reading. When he found a new word, he'd try to use it in a few mental sentences, perhaps even whispering them aloud to himself. This immediate application, even if just internally, solidified the word's meaning and usage in his memory, preventing quick forgetting and aiding recall. He also utilized spaced repetition, not necessarily with flashcards, but by revisiting texts where new words had appeared. Seeing the word again in a different context or even the same one after a delay, reinforced its presence in his linguistic toolbox. This organic method of revisitation proved superior to isolated vocabulary lists for lasting retention and practical use. Improving his listening skills proved equally vital. Alex consciously sought out diverse English audio sources, podcasts on various topics, English language news channels, and movies without subtitles. His initial goal wasn't perfect comprehension, but rather training his ear to the natural flow, rhythm, and intonation patterns of native speakers, a crucial initial step. He learned to focus on catching the overall gist of conversations, rather than getting stuck on every unfamiliar word. Understanding the main idea, even if specific details were missed, reduced anxiety and improved his ability to follow natural speech speeds. This pragmatic approach allowed him to engage with more content, accelerating his passive comprehension development substantially. Slowly, his ear adapted to different accents and speaking speeds. He discovered that consistent, varied exposure was key, even if it felt overwhelming at first. The brain gradually adapts, filtering noise and recognizing patterns with increased efficiency over time. This patient dedication to listening practice was fundamental for enhancing his real-time understanding. Now, for the crucial part, let me tell you talking tips. The first and most liberating tip was to simply start speaking, regardless of perceived perfection. Embrace imperfection as a natural part of the learning process. Communication is the goal, not flawless grammar, a realization that immediately reduced his self-imposed pressure and anxiety. Focus on conveying your message clearly, even if you stumble or use simpler words. People are generally supportive and eager to understand, not to judge your linguistic precision. Prioritizing intelligibility over absolute correctness transforms speaking from a performance anxiety to a genuine exchange, making the entire experience far more enjoyable and productive. Another powerful tip: record yourself. Alex would use his phone to record short monologues or even mock conversations. Listening back revealed pronunciation issues, repetitive phrases, and areas for improvement he wouldn't notice otherwise. This objective self-assessment became an invaluable tool for targeted practice and accelerating his verbal progress significantly. How to talk at home to yourself became Alex's secret weapon for building initial speaking confidence. He started narrating his daily activities in English, describing objects around his room, and voicing his immediate thoughts aloud without any external pressure. This private practice allowed him to experiment freely with new vocabulary and sentence structures. This solo practice wasn't just aimless chatter, it was active language production. He'd debate topics with himself, rehearse imaginary conversations, or even explain complex ideas in English. This consistent self-dialogue strengthened the neural pathways for speaking, making it easier to access words and construct coherent sentences spontaneously when engaging with others. It created a safe, zero-judgment environment where he could make mistakes without embarrassment. This freedom to err allowed for bold experimentation with new phrases and grammatical constructions. Talking to himself built foundational fluency and comfort with the mechanics of speaking, preparing him for real-world interactions without the usual performance anxiety. English talking practice with others was the next indispensable step. Alex actively sought out language exchange partners online, utilizing apps and websites specifically designed for this purpose. These interactions, initially nerve-wracking, forced him to apply his learning in dynamic, unpredictable conversational settings, simulating real-life scenarios effectively. He also joined local English conversation groups, or meetups, pushing himself beyond his comfort zone. While intimidating at first, these face-to-face interactions provided invaluable real-time feedback on his pronunciation and clarity. The exposure to different speaking styles and natural conversational rhythms accelerated his ability to think and respond quickly. Every mistake made during these conversations became a valuable learning opportunity, not a reason for despair. Alex learned to view corrections from native speakers as helpful guidance, integrating them into his future speech patterns. This positive mindset towards errors transformed every interaction into a productive lesson, fostering rapid improvement. How to make confidence in speaking was a gradual process built on consistent effort and small victories. Each time he successfully conveyed a thought, even imperfectly, a tiny brick was added to his confidence wall. Celebrating these incremental achievements, no matter how minor, reinforced his belief in his own capability and progress. He shifted his mindset from chasing elusive perfection to appreciating consistent progress. Real confidence wasn't about sounding like a native speaker, but about effectively communicating his own ideas. This realization liberated him from crippling self-comparison and allowed his authentic voice to emerge during conversations, reducing his performance anxiety significantly. Overcoming shyness required embracing vulnerability. Alex understood that everyone starts somewhere, and most native speakers appreciate the effort. He initiated conversations, even if he felt awkward, knowing that each attempt strengthened his conversational muscles and slowly chipped away at his reluctance to engage openly and frequently. Why you should practice speaking is simple yet profound. It's the ultimate act of language production, the output phase. Reading and listening are input. Speaking transforms that input into active use. It forces your brain to retrieve, organize, and articulate thoughts under real-time pressure, solidifying knowledge and revealing gaps simultaneously. Without regular speaking practice, even extensive knowledge of grammar and vocabulary remains passive. You might understand everything you hear or read, but the ability to spontaneously formulate your own sentences and engage in dynamic conversation will remain underdeveloped, hindering true communicative fluency and limiting practical application. Speaking is also the gateway to genuine human connection and cultural immersion. It allows you to express your personality, share your unique perspective, and build relationships that transcend linguistic barriers. The joy of truly connecting with someone in English is the most powerful motivator and reward for all the effort invested. Why you should not learn English is a provocative but important point. This isn't a literal discouragement from learning, but a warning against misguided approaches that lead to frustration and burnout. You shouldn't learn English if your only motivation is external pressure without any genuine personal desire for communication. Don't learn English if your sole focus is achieving perfect grammar at the expense of actually speaking and communicating. Obsessing over minor errors and avoiding conversation creates a perpetually anxious learner who can't utilize their knowledge effectively. True language acquisition prioritizes intelligible communication over academic flawlessness. You shouldn't learn English if you constantly compare yourself negatively to native speakers or highly advanced learners, feeling inadequate. This toxic mindset breeds discouragement and can lead to giving up entirely. Focus on your personal journey, celebrate your unique progress, and understand that everyone's learning path is different and valid. Similarly, avoid learning English just for memorizing words without practical application. Vocabulary lists are useful, but isolated words quickly fade without contextual use in reading, listening, and especially speaking. Real learning integrates new words into your active linguistic repertoire through meaningful engagement, making them truly yours. Alex's transformative journey wasn't a straight line, but a series of discoveries, reinforced by consistent, purposeful action. He applied his newfound understanding of fluency, embracing it as a journey of communication rather than a quest for elusive perfection. This shift in perspective was foundational to his sustained progress and motivation. His reading habits expanded exponentially, moving beyond textbooks to novels, online articles, and even English news sites. He actively sought out diverse genres and topics, ensuring broad exposure to various linguistic styles and vocabulary sets, which greatly enriched his understanding and prepared him for nuanced conversations. The method of learning new words through context, rather than isolated lists, proved immensely effective. He would pause when encountering unfamiliar terms, inferring their meaning from surrounding sentences, then actively trying to recall them in subsequent thoughts. This natural, iterative process solidified his vocabulary retention significantly. His listening skills sharpened dramatically as he consistently engaged with English audio. He started with content tailored for learners, gradually progressing to authentic materials like documentaries and podcasts for native speakers. His brain began to effortlessly parse rapid speech and discern subtleties in pronunciation, a true testament to dedicated exposure. He often re-listened to segments he found challenging, focusing on intonation and stress patterns which are crucial for understanding meaning beyond individual words. This active engagement with spoken English allowed him to not only comprehend better, but also to naturally mimic more native-like speech rhythms himself during conversations. The impact of talking at home to yourself cannot be overstated. Alex created an internal dialogue, constantly thinking and processing his day in English. He would mentally plan conversations, rehearse presentations, or simply describe his surroundings, strengthening his ability to formulate thoughts directly in the target language. This consistent, low-stakes practice built immense comfort with the mechanics of speaking, forming sentences, retrieving vocabulary, and articulating ideas. It was a private laboratory where he could experiment without fear, gradually building the automaticity needed for spontaneous conversation in real time without hesitation. He also utilized technology for this self-practice, using voice notes to capture his thoughts and then listening back. This objective review highlighted areas for improvement in pronunciation, rhythm, and word choice, transforming solo practice into a powerful feedback loop for targeted enhancement and accelerated linguistic growth. When it came to English talking practice with others, Alex became fearless. He actively participated in online language exchanges, joining numerous video calls with native speakers and fellow learners worldwide. Each conversation, regardless of its perfection, was a victory, a testament to his commitment to active engagement. He actively sought out opportunities for face-to-face interaction, joining local English conversation clubs. These in-person encounters pushed his adaptability, forcing him to respond to nonverbal cues and navigate spontaneous conversational tangents. This direct engagement was crucial for developing real-world communication fluency and confidence. Alex also made sure to ask questions when he didn't understand or to request clarification. He recognized that asking for help was a sign of strength, not weakness, and it significantly aided his comprehension while also signaling his active engagement to the speaker, fostering better communication dynamics. Building confidence in speaking became a positive feedback loop. The more he spoke, the more comfortable he became. The more comfortable, the more he spoke. This upward spiral was fueled by acknowledging every small improvement, no matter how minute, reinforcing his belief in his own capabilities and progress. He shifted his focus from avoiding mistakes to celebrating communication. This fundamental mindset change alleviated immense pressure. He understood that fluency was a journey, not a destination, and that imperfection was a natural, even necessary, part of growing and truly mastering the art of speaking effectively. The powerful realization of why you should practice speaking became his primary motivator. It wasn't enough to just understand English. He needed to produce it. Speaking transformed passive knowledge into active skill, bridging the gap between comprehension and genuine, spontaneous verbal expression, unlocking his full potential. Every spoken word, every conversation, no matter how brief, was an act of cementing his learning. It allowed him to put all his reading and listening comprehension to the ultimate test, identifying weak spots in real time, which then guided his subsequent targeted study and practice sessions for optimal improvement. Addressing why you should not learn English again, Alex recognized a crucial distinction. Don't learn if your motivation is superficial, driven by fleeting trends or external pressure, without true passion for communication. Such approaches often lead to half-hearted efforts and eventual abandonment, wasting time and energy on a journey without purpose. Similarly, don't learn if your aim is solely grammatical perfection, paralyzing your ability to speak. An obsessive focus on error avoidance stifles natural expression and prevents genuine interaction. Fluency thrives on willingness to communicate, to make mistakes, and to learn from them, not on an impossible ideal of flawless speech. Alex's journey culminated in a remarkable transformation. The once struggling student now conversed effortlessly, sharing ideas, cracking jokes, and connecting with people from across the globe. His English wasn't perfect, but it was powerfully fluent, a testament to his dedication to integrated practice and a positive mindset toward learning. He understood that true language mastery is an ongoing process, a continuous refinement rather than a final achievement. The joy was in the journey itself, in the constant discovery, and in the expanding horizons that English unlocked for him. It was a skill for life, perpetually evolving and enriching his world. His initial struggle, once a source of deep frustration, became a powerful narrative of perseverance and triumph. Alex's story became an inspiring example for others, demonstrating that with the right strategies and unwavering commitment, anyone can unlock their full English potential and achieve genuine, confident fluency. He encouraged others to embrace the imperfections, to speak daily, and to immerse themselves fully in the language. The path to fluency is not linear, but every stumble is a step forward. The key is consistent effort and a belief in one's own ability to learn and adapt continually. Alex often reflected on how English had broadened his world, opening doors to new cultures, diverse perspectives, and countless personal and professional opportunities he never anticipated. It wasn't just about speaking a language. It was about expanding his identity and capacity for global connection and understanding. His journey proved that anyone can learn. It simply requires dedication to practicing, reading, listening, and most importantly, speaking, even if it's just to yourself. The confidence builds with every word, transforming effort into authentic, flowing communication. Your fluent voice awaits its powerful debut.